We're mad scientists finishing our evil experiments over 3 generations. This is our review of My Father's Work.
My Father's Work is a worker placement game that requires a companion app to tell its Victorian mad scientist story, and I had a lot of fun jumping into the story.
I really love this game, it just takes so long to play. We'll tell you all about it after this quick how to play.
My Father's Work takes place over 3 generations, with each generation having 3 rounds.
Currently, there are 3 different scenarios that you can play, and with the app, each scenario will have a different storyline each time you play.
During each generation, players will attempt to perform several experiments to earn them points or special abilities.
In the early generations, it's important to record knowledge in the journal and build on the estate so that your abilities can carry on into the next generations.
At the start of each generation, all of your resources gained are lost, so your children or grandchildren must start from scratch.
Each player starts off the game with a masterwork experiment that requires other experiments to be completed in order to complete this one.
During the game, the companion app will add storytelling elements and side quests that can be accomplished for points and resources.
The app changes depending on the player's choices. Choose your own adventure style.
At the end of 3 generations, the player with the most points wins.
There is a lot to talk about with this game, and let's start off with the production quality. Everything here is top notch. All the pieces, all the resource pieces, all the artwork on the cards, the board, the player boards are dual layered, all the little minis that you put for your different characters. Everything is beautiful with this game, so you really get immersed in the theming of the game.
You know, I echo that sentiment because when we did our unboxing, I'm always a big fan of all the pieces, right? You got all these little metal gears here, these little jars, which at the time I didn't really understand what they were, but so many different pieces, so many different shapes and colors. But like this really had a kind of a dark theme, even though there was a lot of cool things to look at.
So with the great production value, and then when you get the app and you hear the storytelling in the app, it goes on and on and on. There's a lot that went into it. It's like a book masquerading as a board game because there's just so much detail and so many words in the story when you're playing the game with the app. The creator of this game really put a lot of thought into it, and you can really see the passion. Having said that, it does make the game drag a little longer. So when you first play it, it's fun, you really get into it. However, there's just so much reading. A lot of it is, okay, I get it, I get skipped to what do I have to do so I can play the game. This game takes a long time, and with all the detail and all the story elements in it, it really makes it even longer than just the actual mechanics of the game.
One thing that can't be overlooked about the whole storytelling aspect is when the app is going and you're reading the story, it really does help to have someone who's eloquent and can really get you in the mood, right? It's like, oh, it's a dark and stormy evening. Because, then you kind of get into it a little bit more. So Kenny was kind of the storyteller, so it's just like, oh, okay, go on. But
it was a dark and stormy
yeah,
evening!
maybe not that. Yeah, you were very scared. I don't feel very scared right now.
When you get past all the storytelling elements of this game and you break it down to its basic nature, it's a worker placement game. You have the town where you're placing your workers, and then you have your estate where you're placing your workers. A lot of it is gathering resources that Lee was talking about a little bit earlier with the little jars, and then you have the caskets, and you have the animals, and you have the gears, all those different things. And then you're taking those resources and you're performing experiments. You have A experiments, B experiments, C experiments, and then you have your master experiments. And that's it. So everything else that's built on it is pretty to look at. It's cool. It adds to the theming. However, it's not that complicated, which I think can be a good introduction game if it wasn't so long. Because it's a lot of fun. It's a very simple game at its core. There's a lot built onto it to add to the funness, but it is a very long game.
I would say the most unique game element about this game that I enjoyed the most was the companion app. Not so much the story of it, but kind of the secret side quests. I mean, once you're in a new round or a new generation, it'll be like, pass this to player 2 or pass it to Lee. And then so I'll be reading my part. It's like, oh, okay, this happens. Do you choose to do this or this? And sometimes it can be like, oh, Kenny did that and Henry did this. Who are you going to attack? But they don't have to know that you attack them. It could just be like, oh guys, oh yeah, it says you lose a point. I don't know how that happened. So it's just fun how that plays out. And then there are times where you pick your decision and you think you're attacking someone, but then nothing happens. So it's just like, all right, well, I wonder what would have happened if I didn't attack.
The companion app can be a double-edged sword because you think you're choosing one thing and it'll still double cross you and choose something else for you. So it'll be like, if you turn this in now, you'll gain this resource. And then it's like, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to get that resource. I just want to keep that. And then the next prompt will be, give it up anyway. You don't get the resource now. So there are lots of different little fun quirks about the app that make it fun and make it unique. And every time you play it, it is the choose your own adventure style where certain things happen and you never know if it's going to be good or bad. So I do like that, but there is so much storytelling in along with that I can slow that process down. But the interaction between the app and the gameplay is a lot of fun.
One game element that I thought was really interesting is like the village people or the angry mob. It kind of adds sort of a co-op component to the game because, you know, you can have some moves or you can decide to do some moves. However, if it like moves the angry mob up, then everyone's affected. So if everyone does experiments or does certain things that moves the angry mob, well, it affects everyone. And then if you move them all the way to the end, now everyone's kind of affected here and can like barely do moves. When I was playing, at least, I was like, ooh, I want to do this, but oh, then the angry mob's going to move there. And then if everyone decides to do it, then we're all just kind of at a stalemate of like, well, what do we do now?
I also like that there are 3 different scenarios that you can play. So not only do you have all these different resources and all these different minis and everything going on with the game, but each of these boxes contain more pieces that you will add into the game depending on which scenario you chose. We went through all 3 of the different scenarios. I can't really tell a huge difference between them. I'm sure that there are differences and you can kind of tell some storytelling elements, and it doesn't make me go, oh, I have to always play that one. I would be curious to play other ones when they come out with the inevitable expansions. I will probably buy those and play those, but I still just didn't see enough of a difference to really be like, oh yeah, that's totally different from that one.
As you can imagine, the scenarios come with their own little storyline or unique parts like extra pieces or factions or things like that. And then they'll even have some experiment cards. I would imagine that when you play these, like those experiment cards, okay, stop going after the basic ones, go after those because those are going to be very important. However, you know, most of the games we played, they were meh. So, you know, you kind of just stuck to like, oh, okay, well, I can grab an A or the top of this deck is a C. So like, man, I'm not going to go for that.
So once you know how to play this game, it can get a little repetitive as far as, all right, I need to do this, I need to do this, and I need to do this. And I know a lot of board games do that. It's not a bad thing. It's just that once you've played it enough, you will see that. And then if everyone playing is a seasoned veteran at this game, the first round, the first generation, everyone's doing this, this, and this. Second round, everyone's doing this. And then as it goes on, then people will start doing different strategies beyond that. But everyone pretty much starts off doing exactly the same thing in the beginning.
So overall, high marks for the production value, right? The pieces are great. You've got a companion app. You even got all the different like scenarios you can play through, plus the choose your own adventure. I really like it. And then obviously the artwork. I mean, here's a time machine. Kind of looks like the Bill and Ted time machine.
Or Doctor Who.
Or Doctor Who. Definitely really enjoyed it. I'd probably give this game, I'll probably give it an 8 just because, you know, I really jumped into being that mad scientist.
Overall, I love a lot about this game. It's not super complicated once you actually start playing it. So I actually feel if the game wasn't so long with the storytelling, that younger kids could play this game as well too, because it's a worker placement, you're gathering resources, you're building your experiments, and then you move on. So I really think that this is a fun game, but if they could streamline it a little bit, it would be even better. I'm also gonna give it an 8 because I really enjoy it. And if you do like board games and you're okay with longer board games, you should definitely check this game out.
Yeah, on that note, I think it really helps you kind of build up your endurance. If you ever think like, oh, I can't play a 4-hour board game, like this probably isn't that bad.
And that was our review of My Father's Work.
What'd you think? Are you ready to become Dr. Frankenstein and complete your experiments? Let us know in the comments below.
And if you're enjoying our content, please like this video, subscribe to our channel. And if you want to see more Halloween-themed videos, check out the link in our description below.
Until next time, I'm Lee.
I'm Kenny. I go party like a board gamer.